All right, which doesn't belong and why? Bears, Giants, Dolphins, Saints began their offseason workouts yesterday. Let's start with young quarterbacks in a prove-it year. Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, Tua Tagovailoa. Which doesn't belong and why?
I think Justin Fields is the one that doesn't belong in that. I don't look at it as like a prove-it year for Justin Fields. I look at it like last year was a rookie, good year, showed a lot of promise. We see the talent, and now it's a new coaching staff, and we just see where it goes. I don't look at this as the same scenario of Daniel Jones where we go, well, all right, this is it. Like it's the fifth year, we gotta see, or the fourth year, we gotta see some improvements, or this guy's out of here. Tua, there's no excuses. We got all this talent around it. It's been a rocky road. If you don't make it happen this year, or at least look pretty damn good, we got to start thinking another way. Justin Fields, I feel like we're years away from that conversation, and I don't think he's in the same boat as those other two guys.
I'm going to say Tua, not because he's set up to fail, but he's set up to have zero excuses, so if he doesn't perform, he will have failed. They didn't do it on purpose, per se. It's not one of the direct objectives, but if they're not good this year, if the offense struggles this year, it's him. There's no other excuses. It's him. So he's the one, to me, that feels like he's the closest to being out the door. Sorry to and on, but it just feels that way from an outsider's perspective.
Right.
First-time head coaches, which doesn't belong and why? Matt Eberflus of the Bears, Brian Daboll of the Giants, Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins, which doesn't belong and why?
I think the one that pops to me here, and they all have a little different subtle things about them, but I think is Mike McDaniel. One, it was a little bit of a different hire. He's a different type of guy. There is the pressure of the Flores situation there. And then I think what I also think where I put him in a different situation is, a little bit like what you just said with Tua. Like, the team is good. They're there. We don't want to see a step back or two steps back with the quality of the roster that the Miami Dolphins have. The defense is awesome. There's stars all over the place. The offense, you can kind of say the same thing. And they've added to their offense. So I look at it with like Daboll and going, man, there's a lot of work there to be done with the Giants. They're not ready for prime time yet. Same thing with the Bears. And then I look at Mike McDaniel and go, they're kind of ready for prime time. That could be interesting there.
I'm going to say Eberflus, back to underscore a point that I've made many years now, every year. He's a defensive guy. So if they do well, what's going to happen? Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, is going to be a head coach somewhere else, and then you got to start all over again with Justin Fields. That, to me, strategically, when you got a young quarterback, if you truly want to get the most out of that young quarterback, you want an offensive coach who's going to be joined at the hip with that quarterback for years to come, like Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Because if you do well now, goodbye to Luke Getsy, and you got to start all over again. And I know that a guy like Eberflus would say, well, good problem to have, and we'll have a system here, and we hire somebody who continues doing what we do. But there's always going to be differences. There's always going to be changes. The only way to avoid changes is to make sure it's the same guy running the offense as a coach, the same guy running the offense as a player for as long as you possibly can. So that's the guy who stands out to me.
Mike, I hear you there. But I've never really thought about this. This kind of just came to my head organically there while you were explaining this. I don't even know if it's allowed. I'd be interested here. Like, because the point you're talking about is very real. We know that. It's in the logic of a lot of NFL teams when hiring head coaches and thinking about this a little bit. Is there a tool that maybe these defensive coaches can start to use contractually on the offensive guys they hire a little bit? Like, you're guaranteed you have to stay here 2 years or 3 years. You can't do that?
Shut down their ability to become a head coach
that's
elsewhere.
what I thought. I wasn't sure.
Here's the tool.
Yeah.
The tool is you give them enough money and they're never interested.
Yeah.
But pay them more than what they would get as a head coach. That would be the way to do it. But that's you cannot erect a barrier to a guy's opportunity to leave. Anytime before March 1, we got into that last week with the Rooney Rule and whether and to what extent it does and doesn't apply after March 1. It doesn't, because after March 1, teams can say you can't talk to our guys. Before then, they can't say you are prohibited from interviewing one of our assistants to become your head coach. All right, NFC win totals, which doesn't belong and why, over-under style from PointsBet. Giants at 7.5, Saints at 7.5, Bears at 6.5, which doesn't belong and why.
The Saints. We talked about this yesterday. That's the one that jumps out to me just because I still think there's a lot of tools in place for them to be a pain in the butt. in the NFC. And again, we'll see what they do with these 2 first-round picks they got and see if they make any other moves. But I think there's still a lot to respect about the football team. It's still the same coaching staff, just no Sean Payton. The defense is still, it's pretty much all there. You lost Malcolm Jenkins to retirement. But damn, I know no Teron Armstead, but it's still a good offensive line. You still got Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas, you think is back at this point at least. So the Saints are the one I look at that are just a little different class than the Giants and Bears as of right now.
We spent some time yesterday talking about our belief that the Saints are too low at 7.5, given all the players they have, given the continuity of the coaching staff, even though Sean Payton's gone. Somebody pointed this out to me, not anyone in the league. A reader sent in an email, and it was a little hostile, but it makes a good point, and we've kind of forgotten about it. Alvin Kamara was in that weird thing at the Pro Bowl, and he got arrested, he got charged, and I guess we need to factor that possibility that Alvin Kamara is going to miss some time this year. I don't know how quickly or slowly this is going to move forward to the point where he would potentially be suspended. And he's not a quarterback, so it's not quite the same as we got to take him off the board like the Browns are off the board. But that could affect at some point the ability of the Saints to win games if this legal situation comes to a head and Kamara isn't available for one or more games this year, not because of injury, but because of this off-field situation. So we at least have to have that somewhere on the corner of the radar screen.
We do. He's too damn good of a player. We saw it last year. When he wasn't in there, they went the same offense. And, of course, he's the great way to break Jameis Winston back in again. Easy throws out of the backfield, hand the ball to him. He's still a special football player. But you're right. That is something we kind of have forgotten about, and I would expect him to lose a few games this year. I would, as we sit here now.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.